Hi there. Welcome back to Girl Take the Lead, the podcast where we dive into the real, raw, and remarkable stories of people breaking cycles, finding hope, and leading with courage. Today's guests are Judy Henderson and Jimmy Soni, co authors of the book When the Light Finds Us. Judy spent 36 years in prison for a crime she didn't commit, yet she emerged not with bitterness but with hope, grace, and a mission to change the justice system. Jimmy, an author drawn to stories of endurance, knew Judy's journey needed to be shared with the world. In this conversation, we talk about Judy's mantra, don't be bitter, be better, and how she found hope and forgiveness even for the prosecutor who helped convict her, and the powerful role family played in her resilience, like the empty chair they kept for her at every holiday table for 30 years. This is a story of unimaginable strength, deep compassion, and how even in the darkest places, we can create light. Let's dive in. Here you go. For joining us, Judy and Jimmy. I am so excited to have this conversation with you. Unfortunately, I guess under the circumstances, we might look at it and go, I'm sorry we have to have this conversation, but oh my goodness, what a book. And thank you for being here.
You're quite welcome. It is an honor to be here with you. I look forward to this, and I think we're going to have fun.
Yeah, I think so too. And Jimmy, welcome as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, great. So maybe you can each introduce yourself to our audience so they get a flavor of who you are and why this conversation is so friggin' important. Judy, yeah.
I'm Judy Henderson, of course, and I'm here to share my experience of 36 years in a very dark place to where I did not plan to go. However, you don't always plan your path the way you want it to be. You hope it's going to be that way, but there's turns you make that you do not know where it's going to take you. So that being said, you just have to learn to make the best of a bad situation, regardless of where you're at. And I hope this book shows everybody that you are able to do this. You have the tools necessary to do whatever comes and goes in your life that you find unexpected.
And my name is Jimmy, and I met Judy around 6 years ago, give or take, like about 6.5 years ago at this point, I think. And I'm an author, and the funny thing about the universe is the way it brings people together. My books have been not, co-written memoirs about people who spent 36 years in prison. They've been about as far from that as you could get. But I have always been drawn to stories of remarkable people, and particularly stories of endurance. And so for me, any human being who endures something difficult has something to teach us.
Mhm.
And that is it's a hard quality to cultivate in yourself. I get a paper cut and I complain, right? And so there's something about people who survive extraordinary things that really inspires me. I'm not the only one. Obviously, there's a reason like that. There's a reason that books like Man's Search for Meaning or David Goggins' book or others do so well. People are looking for people who survive very grueling things. When I met Judy, and I had learned that she did 36 years in prison for a crime she did not commit, and then I met her, and this description that someone gave of her, which is that she's sunshine on two legs, it rang true. I met her, and she didn't have an ounce of bitterness in her body, and I'm thinking to myself, like, who is this person? Like, this almost seems superhuman. And I basically badgered her into writing a book. And then what she did is she badgered me into writing it with her. So that is why we're both talking to you now, is because I had a number of, different projects I'd done, but I'd never met anybody like Judy Henderson. And I just thought the world needed to know her story.
Mm. And Judy, what about you when you met Jimmy? Did you just so, oh my goodness, this man has to work with me?
Yes, I mean, he is probably one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. He has a work ethic that is crazy, and he rubs off on you, and we just love him. My family, we all love him. He is our family. He's just our brother from another mother.
Well, I can tell in the very short time that I've known the two of you that he wants the best for you, and
Yes,
definitely you're a supporter. So so cool to
yes.
see the partnership. Um, a big part of the story, and Jimmy, you referred to this, was resilience. And you said Judy is the most resilient person you probably have ever known. So, Judy, what elements kept you going?
Yolanda, that's kind of easy for me to say because, for one, anger can fuel you, and it can fuel you in bad ways or good ways. I chose to use it in better ways, and that coupled with the fact of my deep love for my children and my family is what gave me the elements, the ingredients, the courage, the bravery, the resilience that I needed to fight for my freedom to get home to them.
Mm. And fear. Did fear play a factor in?
Yes, and it's funny you speak of fear because I was scared to death of snakes, but somebody assured me that I could get over the fear of them. And what's so ironic about that is once I conquered that, and now I can pick up a snake and it's nothing. It's like petting a cat. Um, I realized there isn't any fear that I can't face.
Mm.
So it's like I tell people, I think I could kick King Kong's butt, you know? I don't know that there's anything I am afraid of. Sometimes I will allow a certain situation like having to switch flights at an airport maybe scare me. But I think there's a part of me that wants to face it and do it anyways, just
Hmm.
to show fear that I don't fear you.
Very good. Very good. And Jimmy, do you have any insights about resilience when it comes to Judy?
Oh, I mean, no, this is her life is like an encyclopedia of resilience. So I think there's a couple interesting things that stood out to me. Again, as somebody who was writing this story with her and who studied it closely and really tried to understand it. One key piece is that she had over she was wrongfully convicted of a crime and went into prison, a place she had no familiarity with, and had to figure out how to survive not just prison but then also kind of run the gauntlet of the justice system to get home and to try to persevere. And so I think there's a few different kinds of resilience in the story. One is just physical resilience, like surviving in prison is incredibly difficult, as anybody could imagine, so she has to survive that. And then the other piece of it is staying with the idea that she would one day earn her freedom, even though she has a life sentence, without the possibility of parole for 50 years. She's got to continue to file petitions and clemencies and talk to lawyers and all of that. And I found that to be deeply inspiring. I think that's kind of one big set of thoughts. And then the other is that there are a number of things that Judy did that were impressed me because they're all the things that like contemporary modern people do, but she was doing them back in the day. So, for example, like meditation as a way of just getting some space between thought and action.
Mm.
And so she's meditating in prison in the 80s, like before it's cool, right? She keeps up her physical fitness in prison, a place where much to my surprise anyway, a lot of people actually just completely give up their physical lives. They eat whatever they want. They'll go and not take care of their bodies. So she takes classes, she learns courses, she makes herself productive within prison.
Mhm.
And I think there is something intimately connected between with those things that she built into her life on a daily basis, as well as the resilience it takes to survive a place like that and then eventually get home. And so
Mm.
I was both interested in the big thoughts about resilience, about what keeps you inspired, but then also just the day-to-day actions that somebody takes to get through in an almost hopeless situation,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
the justice system is basically telling you you're never going to get home. Her fellow guards, her fellow prisoners are telling her, "You're never going to get home. It's never going to happen. Judy, this is a pipe dream. Stop believing it." So if everyone around you and the system that condemned you are saying you're stuck here forever, part of the reason I wanted to write the book is because I wanted to understand, how does somebody get through that? And it really was a series of daily actions to get through it. It is all the exercises that are written, viral articles are written about now, visualization and meditation and reading and all of these things that she was doing decades ago.
Yeah. So, Judy, did you just have the fortitude? Like when someone would tell you, I get this way a little bit. So I think we might have this in common. If someone tells me I can't do it, I get like, I dig in and I'm like, I'll show you. Is that
Yes.
kind of what happened for you?
Yes, Yolanda, and it's funny you say that because again, I think you can read me pretty well, golly. And I guess I don't know if it's I get stubborn or is it like, oh, I'm gonna show you a thing or two. And I took the biggest thing that had ever happened in my life and the biggest system in our United States, and I wanted to show them, you cannot beat me. I'm going to
Mm,
show you, you cannot beat me. And I don't care how long it takes, I'm not giving up. I might fall back a day or two, but I'm going to pick right up on that third day and I'm going to hit it hard.
mm,
So yeah, it took some stubbornness, if
yeah.
that's what you want to call it. And I'm going to do it. Whether you
Yeah.
believe me or not, the more you tell me I can't, the more I'm going to do it.
I think I can relate to that a little bit.
Yeah, you seem
um,
like the type.
yeah, kind of. That's all I needed. It was for someone to tell me I couldn't do something. And it would be like, I'm first, second generation Mexican, and my father was a Chavez. And so, I mean, I learned from him, just dig in, honey, and go for it. But not, I've never had to overcome an obstacle like you have. So you have my deepest respect on how to overcome in those situations. And I keep thinking about forgiveness
Mhm.
and the role that must have played in balancing your ability to persevere, but yet not through anger. I mean, it just sounds like you were inside, internal, finding the love
Mhm.
around you.
An example of what I tried to do with that was with my prosecutor. I really gave it a lot of thought about how I was going to address him 20 years after I had served 20 years in. And I thought, okay, so he was elected to do a job that the voters wanted him to do. And he was going to do it to the best of his ability. So even though he knew that I was not the culprit in this, he chose to pursue it anyways. But he was doing what he was voted in to do. So
Mhm.
I thought, okay, I'm going to write him a letter and let him know that I hold no animosity or anger toward him because of that reason. He
Mhm.
was chosen and voted in to do what he was elected to do, and he did it very well. Now,
Mhm.
let me proceed to tell you what your actions has done for me.
Mhm.
And I wanted him to know that even though he did what he did, I've been able to find my purpose and been able to find my gifts and my blessings through it.
Mhm.
And that was to let him know everything I had done. I wanted him to know about me and my family and, what we're doing there moving forward, and that we are still have a strong bond, me and my children. And so every year thereafter at Christmas time, I would send him an update
Mhm.
because I really needed to understand why a good man, which I thought he was a good man, and he ended up being, so I was correct in that area, um, would do what he did, knowing that at one point I was willing to step forward and help him. And yet he chose not to. He chose to go ahead and pursue what he was elected to do, and that was to be hard on crime, no matter no matter what it consisted of. And so yeah, that was one way that I was able to get rid of that anger and try to understand the other side of it, the other side of the situation.
Mm. So, Jimmy, what name would you give to her superpower? I mean,
Oh,
It's very tough.
Essie.
You know, she had this one quip that she shared that became a part of not just the book, but it's something I think about a lot, which is Judy in prison at one point adopted a mantra, and it was "Don't be bitter, be better."
oh,
So "Don't be bitter, be better" is actually, I think we gave it a chapter, its own chapter, like a chapter
Yeah.
title, because there were all these moments that could lead to profound resentment, right? You're dealing with guards who are frequently unfair, if not outright unlawful in what they're doing. You are dealing with a system that it really it has it pretends to operate like it's going to rehabilitate people, but it's really not there to rehabilitate in most cases, right? You have fellow prisoners who are going to, take things and create all kinds of chaos and mayhem. I mean, every single day is a kind of living nightmare. And again, I get bitter over like somebody cutting me off in traffic. Like, you get bitter over the tiniest things. And so to meet somebody who managed not for a day or for a month or for even 6 months, but for 36 years to not succumb to bitterness, to not emerge as somebody who is kind of covered up in this shell of like this hard shell where they had walled themselves off from humanity. That was really inspiring. And so I think that little mantra, "Don't be bitter, be better," it doesn't always work. Even Judy's the first to admit it. She admits it in the book, that it wasn't something that could be a cure all. But over time, she had to start to see that every situation she was in was a choice. It was a choice to either be bitter about it or try to use it to be better.
mm,
And that is something that, I mean, look, I'm the first. I need more of it. I think we probably all need more of it. But it's one of the things that emerges from this story is that she chose otherwise. And just so people have an understanding, there are prisoners who don't make that choice. There are prisoners that Judy knew who took their own lives in prison. There are prisoners that Judy knew that inside prison committed more crimes, right? And so there's it's not that everybody chooses this path. In fact, most don't. And
mhm.
that's what I found so remarkable about the story. And it's why, I don't know, I haven't got a tattoo yet, but if I'm going to get one, it'll be "Don't be bitter, be better."
Well, the one word that comes to mind for me about her is graciousness. Like I would say that's your superpower from the little that I know you, like just the graciousness. And that always includes some of the forgiveness and some of the way in which you move. It's totally with grace. And Judy, do you have an idea for Jimmy's superpower?
His superpower is,
Yeah.
ooh, I would think it would be he can break through concrete walls with his ideas. He takes ideas that nobody else would even come up with. And
Yeah.
one was I'm going to mention it, Jimmy, about the Monsignor, the Catholic organization, because I work for the Catholic organization here in Kansas City. And he wanted to get them involved. So he was just going to walk around this corner from where he lives and tell them, here's some books. Here, I want you to read about her and I want you to think about putting her on your podcast, And I thought, wow, that's a pretty big and bold idea. But it worked. He didn't walk around there, but he got it to them. And now they are so on board. I mean, I just think that he could probably just perform about any miracle he sets his mind to.
Yeah. I could see
It's
that.
very kind of you to say.
Does anybody ever say no, Jimmy? Because I think that you are.
Oh, they say no all the time. I'm looking just to, for listeners who are kind of hearing this story for the first time. This book, um, it was called "When the Light Finds Us," but it should be, kind of like beating your head against, who we call beating your head against a wall, because there was a while where we actually had to fight to get the story published. We had to fight uphill to get, things edited, fight to get the cover design we wanted. And the book itself was a story of resilience. But part of it is, look, when you were writing a book about somebody that had to endure what Judy endured, it really isn't that hard to find an extra hour in the day to just keep beating your head against a wall to try to get something to work, and then to try to get people to pay attention. And to me, that's the part of it that I hope touches other people. Like, I do want people to read this and walk away and have like a little bit more spring in their step, because that's what Judy does to me. It's kind of like I joke that she's like 76 going on 26. Like, she is just and she believes that it is now her mission to fix the justice system. And that to me is so inspiring. So it's sort of like, of course I was going to beat my head. Of course I was going to walk through walls for this book. It was easy because look who I'm walking through walls for.
Well, I guess the one word I would give you then is warrior, because I think that I can almost see some wings coming
That's
out of
funny.
your back.
Exactly.
Doesn't always work in my favor. Doesn't always win friends and influence people, but it works.
Yeah, it's okay.
I mean, he
Great
would
one.
tell me, I don't care if we have to self-publish. He said, I am going to make sure this book is published. He would not give up. He
Yeah.
kept pulling me up and said, it's going to happen. We got to keep fighting. We got to keep moving. We got to keep doing it. And he was right.
Well, maybe one thing you both share is just this strong sense of hope. And
Yes.
I know that was a theme that I felt throughout the book when I was reading it. And your title certainly reflects that. And Judy, I wonder if you would read that passage for us about hope, because it's so touching. I'm going to try not to cry over it, but go ahead.
Okay.
My listeners know that I get touched by these things, so go ahead.
Prison stole irreplaceable years, yet in this place designed to break spirits, I also discovered a deep truth. Even in chains, our choices remain our own. When strip searches threatened to strip away my dignity, I chose to see the humanity in the guards, making small talk about weekend plans or favorite books. In the crushing silence of solitary confinement, I chose to fill the void with whispered stories of hope and redemption. Faced with the constant threat of violence, I chose peace. I meditated conflicts and taught fellow inmates. I mediated conflicts and taught fellow inmates to read. These weren't grand gestures. They were quiet daily choices, like water wearing away stone. They shaped me. In a place of punishment, I chose growth. In darkness, I learned to create my own light.
Everyone take a breath after that. That was just beautiful, Judy. Thank you. And
you're welcome
for sharing that. Jimmy, was there anything else you saw about hope?
I think one of the things that surprised me most in this story is the degree to which Judy's family helped to generate hope for her. So Judy is incarcerated, and this is a moment that her family has nobody else in her family has experienced this. And so it's new to all of them, the justice system, lawyers, a criminal trial, judges, prosecutors, the news, the craziness of the media. And it's the kind of thing that honestly, probably, in fact, it does, but it probably ought to have broken most families, and certainly her own, right? And they rally around her. The most touching thing to me, and one of the most revealing things, is that at every family occasion for 30 plus years, her family would have a seat, like an empty seat, and they would put a framed photo of Judy on it. So if they were having Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving dinner, they would put a framed photo of Judy there just as a symbol of the fact that she should be there. They did countless calls. They did prison visits. They would try to, go to everything they could. They kept abreast of the trial. They would connect her with people. Her daughter, who was 13 when Judy goes in, ends up, like, later in the story, being one of the people that helps to secure her release, because she advocates for her from the outside. And so I think that to me was something that there's a practicality to hope too. And so if you have a family member that is going through something very difficult, it can be anything, you have a role to play in creating hope. Hope isn't accidental. it's not like, I think we even write, it's been a while since we wrote the book, so you'll have to forgive me, but I think we even write like hope isn't something, it's like a dollar that you find on the sidewalk, right, by accident. It is something that you create. And so one of the more interesting features of the book is how Judy's family helps to engender that hope. And that, I think, is a relevant lesson for everybody, because somebody at some time in your family is going to go through what feels like something impossible for them. And there are actually active affirmative steps you can take to be there for them. And if Judy's family was able to do that, given what she was up against, I mean, look, again, this is advice for me. I'm just giving myself advice here about being there for the people who are closest to me when they go through something like this, or something not even like this, but not quite as terrifying, but still difficult.
Yeah, I think you're presencing love, which is so powerful.
Yes.
So, are there any other insights that you'd like to leave with the audience before we end our episode today? I think we've covered a lot of.
Well, I would like to tell the audience one thing. Look within yourself, because you have many talents, you have many tools that you haven't even tapped into. I believe that those are given to us the day we were created, and we aren't even aware. And some of those talents will lead you to your purpose. And if you can't find your purpose, then we all have one. Why were we created? And mine was to give back to others and to help others. And if it meant taking this kind of journey to understand their situation, then it's been a blessing. And I've received so many gifts out of it. And by learning how to tap into what I was given the day I was born. And so I want people to not give up, because there is light on the other side. And it's up to you to find it. Don't leave that up to somebody else. Just like your own happiness, you create your happiness. Don't expect others to create that for you.
Is that what you would tell your 20-something self today?
Yes, I would. Because back when I was in my 20s, I didn't have the courage. I didn't have the self-love that I do today. So yes, I would tell my 20-year-old something that today.
Jimmy, what about you? What would you tell your 20-something self?
Well, this would be impossible, but read Judy's book would be the first. But no, I think I would say something like, to connect the two questions. What are some of the insights from the book, and then the advice that I would have for my 20-year-old self? We all experience things that feel like the end of the world at one point or another, and Judy's world, not literally, but almost ended, in the aftermath of this conviction. Every single circumstance about that trial and about her conviction could have led her to end it all. And in fact, I don't think anybody actually would have judged if she had, because she had been at the scene of the crime, was shot during the crime, but was convicted of this crime, was given a life sentence. The person who pulled the trigger got away scot-free. And the amount of just anger, hatred, self-hatred, bitterness that could create, her world falls apart. She's taken away from her kids and put away for seemingly forever. And so the idea of just actually treating every situation, no matter what it is, as an opportunity for growth, that is very hard to do on the best of days. I cannot imagine what that is like for somebody who faced what she faced. Now, I can, because we worked together on the book for so many years and I learned all these things about her. But I think if I had to give myself my 20-year-old self a piece of advice, or anybody listening, whatever age you are, like, the thing that you think is the end of the world or that will break you can also be a source of profound strength. And to me, that is actually like the key lesson from Judy's story is this thing that was designed to destroy her is the reason that 40 years later she is the person she is, and that in any room she walks into, people kind of flock to her and they find something about her that they like, and these are men and women, young and old. And I think there is something really powerful to that, because I don't know about everybody else, but I like give into self-pity all the time. I did it this morning, like there's no shortage of self-pity over here. And so to me, that's the really remarkable thing. It's the thing that I think like first drew me to the story, and even after writing it, it still draws me to it, where I'm like, like in the midst of all of this stuff, Judy found a way. And if she could find a way to get into, and in that situation, if you can find a way to survive and get out of it, there's hope for all of us and everything else, because everything else is easy by comparison.
That's right. Judy, anything else that you'd like to tell our audience before we end?
I can't really think of anything other than whenever it comes to parenting, I want people to remember that your children are just miniature adults. And yes, they are children, but yet they have opinions that you need to respect. You need to allow them to voice how they feel. You need to acknowledge those feelings and not just blow them off like, oh, it's just a kid talking. Because I had to pay close attention on the phone or on visits during what few hours we got to visit, to all of those tiny little things that I think parents take for granted. And that's what makes your bond close. That's what makes them feel safe. Is what makes them feel like, oh, they're really paying attention to me. They're really nurturing me. They're really helping me to grow. And even though my daughter, this is a little comical, she said, another reason I always felt so close to you, Mom, and I was able to tell you everything is I knew you couldn't ground me. So I always have to throw that in there because, we need a little humor somewhere in this. And I said, oh, now I'm finding out 40 years later what the real deal was. But no, she did talk to me about how I treated her like every word she said was important. And I noticed Jimmy does that with his daughter. He has such a cool bond with her that he treats her like one of his best friends, and she's just 9 years old.
Sweet.
But she's an amazing little adult that wants to be a writer.
I wonder why.
I've got to talk her out of that one.
Well, you guys, what a wonderful, wonderful conversation today, and so heartfelt. And can't thank you enough for coming on the show and for being here. So thank you.
It's been lovely. I've enjoyed it immensely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having us both.
Thanks so much for joining us today. If Judy's story resonated with you or inspired you to think differently about resilience, hope, and compassion, I'd love for you to leave a review wherever you're listening. Your feedback helps more people discover the show and lead them with their heart. And if someone you know is going through a tough time or just needs a reminder that hope is possible, even in the darkest moments, share this episode with them. Judy's message might be exactly what they need to hear today. You can always join our Facebook group, Girl Take the Lead, and visit our website at girltaketheleadpod.com for more episodes, resources, and meaningful cards and gifts from our store. And we're on YouTube. Just search a Girl Take the Lead and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Yes, you can even listen on YouTube Music. A few of my favorite quotes from Judy. Don't be bitter, be better. And even in chains, our choices remain our own. And lastly, you create your happiness. Don't leave that up to someone else. Here are 3 takeaways from today's episode. 1, hope isn't accidental. It's something we create daily, even in the toughest moments. 2, forgiveness can be one of the most powerful tools for healing and growth. And 3, resilience is built on small, consistent choices, what Judy calls water wearing away stone. Coming up next week on Girl Take the Lead, we'll be joined by Peggy Sullivan, leadership coach and author, who will share why busyness is hurting your success and why it's a 4-letter word, and how clarity can be your best leadership investment. Until then, take care of your heart, lead with courage, and remember, you got this. Talk soon. Bye.